Yeah, hi there, and these comments are for Komatop, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the TOEFL online course, the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT, and you're one of my online students, and you just completed my second pretest for the pronunciation area in my course. So in this time, what we're trying to do is I'm going to try to figure out what problems, if any, you have in the second part of my course. I'll be looking at your syllable division and grammatical word endings. I'll be looking at your word stress, your sentence rhythm. I'll be looking at your intonation and even your thought groups and blending. So let's go ahead and hear what you have to say.
This is a recording for the final test of Speak Clearly lesson. Reading passage 1. Read the following passage aloud.
Okay, hold on a minute.
When two people are talking to each other, they tend to stand specific.
Okay, so you're actually doing the post test. Okay, I thought you were doing this second one here. Okay, so you're doing everything here. So what I want to do now is I'm going to have to try to figure out, you've gone through all my Speak Clearly lessons. Now you're doing the final post test, and part of my job is to let you know any lingering issues you might have with your intelligibility and your speaking of American English. Let me go ahead and bring up both. Okay, let's put this one down. Okay, here we go.
Distance apart. Each person has an invisible boundary around his or her body into which other people may not come. If someone pierces this boundary, she or he will feel uncomfortable and move away to increase the distance between them.
Now going back to this particular word here, pierces, actually has two syllables there. So don't forget, sometimes when you put that es on the end of the word, in many cases it may create an additional syllable to the word. That way, in this case, we know that's the third person singular form of the verb and not the plural form of the verb.
The major exemption is family members and other loved ones. This personal distance is not due to body odor or blood health, but because closeness lends a sense of intimacy that is at odds with the relationship to the other individual.
Now, in terms of your reading, you're a little bit slow. One thing you want to work on right now is your pausing. For example, here. If I was reading this sentence here, I would probably pause right after other. Now the key is we identify this as a thought group, and then we have to blend those words within the thought group. So I might say, when two people are talking to each other, they tend to stand a specific distance apart. And then on the next sentence you might say, maybe you pause right after this, each person has an invisible boundary around his or her body into which other people may not come. So what you're not doing as well as you could is when you get, like in this case, this is another thought group, you want to try to blend the words within that thought group and not make too many pauses within the thought group.
Reading passage 2. Interestingly, the average personal distance varies from culture to culture. Americans tend to require more personal space than in other cultures.
Tone's pretty
Therefore, if you try to get too close to an American during your conversation, he or she will feel that you are in his face and will try to back away. Try to be aware of this, so If the person to whom you are speaking backs away a little, don't try to close a gap.
That was actually pretty good there, the way that you read that. I thought that was your thought groups were fairly well there. You're doing some pretty good blending.
Reading passage 3. Also, try to avoid physical contact while you are speaking, since this may also lead to discomfort. Touching is a bit too intimate for casual acquaintances. So don't put your arm around his or her shoulder. Don't touch his or her face or hold his or her hand. Shaking hands when you initially meet your part is acceptable, but this is only momentary.
Now, one word in there you probably are having a little bit of trouble with. This particular word here, casual, casual. It's that zh. So you're having a little bit of trouble with that.
Part B. Respond to the following interview questions. Do not write an outline or practice your answers. Speak as naturally as you can. Number 1. Who is your best friend? Why is this person important to you? Use supporting examples. Okay. My best friend's name is Kumiko. She's actually, I and she went to high school together actually. And for the first time, I didn't.
So if you want to get a little bit more advanced there, my best friend is, not sure the name there, Kumshiko, whom I went to high school with, or with whom I went to high school. So if you combine those two sentences, you're demonstrating a little bit more advanced grammar. So sometimes in your speech, in that case, you're choosing a more simplistic type sentence structure over a more complicated one.
Like her because she was kind of mean to me for some reason. But in the end, I found out she was just nervous about making new friend. And one time,
I would say she was a little bit nervous about making new friends. Or you say about making a new friend. So depending on how you want to do it, if you want to use singular, then use a. If you want to use plural, then use friends.
she helped me to become friend with the teacher I wanted to become a friend. And
Kind of the way that you're expressing those ideas is a little bit unnatural, but she wanted me to become friends with the teacher.
because I was not good at making friend. I was first nervous when I tried to speak with the teacher, but Kumiko helped me to encourage me to speak as much as possible. And then finally, I and that teacher became a good friend. And
I would say finally the teacher and I became good friends. So that whole idea of using friends, you're not sure when to make it singular or plural, but when you're talking about the teacher and you, I would say when the teacher and I became good friends. So put a plural s there.
I was able to ask many questions when I had trouble with figuring out the problem in the class. So this is answer for number 1.
All right.
And question 2. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What will you be doing? Be sure to explain your ideas with supporting details. Well, 5 years from now, I'm currently working at one of the universities in Japan, and
I would say one of the universities in Japan, so the plural s again.
I wanted to become a manager who is in charge of both inbound and outbound programs. Inbound programs are the programs for international students, and the outbound programs are for the Japanese students who want to study abroad. Actually, that was my initial dream, but now I'm thinking about changing my dream. It was true that working as an administrative staff was kind of interesting, but I'm more interested in teaching. And
Okay.
if it may be difficult in 5 years, but if I have a chance, I want to teach English to Japanese students at the university.
Okay.
That's my plan. Number three,
Now it's interesting though, you're able to use the either the past or the simple present to discuss something that's happening in the future. So you were avoiding the future tense or I'm going to or I will be a teacher or hopefully I will have the opportunity to teach Japanese students English in a university setting. So I'm not exactly sure you're comfortable using that future tense based on how you answered that particular question. So remember, when you're talking about things beyond the present time, into the future area, you can use either the future or the future perfect tense in those cases.
what is your favorite season of the year? Fall, winter, spring, or summer? Be as specific as possible. Um, for Japan is a country where we can enjoy the changes of the season. We have 4 seasons, and all of which are is fascinating. But among
That's pretty good grammar. Wasn't exactly correct, but all of which are fascinating. That means fall, winter, spring, summer. Again, so all of which are fascinating is probably the best way to express that idea, but I like how you're using that. It's called an adjective clause expression of quantity. You're using that after the sentence, and that demonstrates more advanced grammar there, definitely.
I will say that summer is the best. Um, Probably because I live in a colder area in Japan, and in winter we have too much snow, and even in spring it's still very cold. But in summer we can enjoy a very hot day, and we can enjoy beach, and also I think fashionable clothes in summer, because in winter, because
You think fashionable clothes in the summer, but what are you trying to say? You're saying in the summer, or the summer gives me an opportunity to wear fashionable clothes. So there's a few words in there you're leaving out.
as I said before, it's very cold, and I can't wear nice clothes. I just wear a lot of layers and coats and so on. But in summer, I can wear fashionable clothes,
Okay.
and that's why I like the summer. I like summer the best. Okay, so this is my answer. Please evaluate my recording.
Yes. Okay, so let's take a look at the intelligibility scale right now. I can go ahead and give you a score right now. So the high beginner is 1.1 and a native speaker would be 7.0. So in your case, you're in pretty good shape, but as I pointed out, you do have some grammar limitations. You're having some mistakes when you speak. Sometimes you can use a little bit more advanced grammar when you're talking. So also from a pronunciation standpoint, you can probably work a little bit more on your pronunciation, but overall, I think you're making some improvements. Let's say, yeah, I'm going to put you. Yeah, I notice you're having some problems with your S's, when to put S, when to make it singular, if it's singular, using words like a, and, or the before those nouns. So I think I want to put you in the 4 area, but you do have some word usage irregularities here, which will probably prevent you from moving into that area. So I'm going to put you at 4.0 out of 7, which puts you in the high intermediate, almost in the high intermediate area in your speech. So you still have some language use issues that you want to work on. Now, in terms of my course, Let's take a look at the actual lessons in the pronunciation area, see if I can give you some feedback here. The one sound you're still having a little bit of trouble with, I think lesson number 16, the major measure. You remember the casual. I think you can work on that a little bit. Also with the latter part of our course, the lessons 26, 27, and 28. This deals with the S ending. Sometimes you're not exactly sure about your grammatical word endings. The last part maybe is 41, 42, 43, and 44. You could probably review those lessons also. So part of this is more just keep using the language, and that will help you reduce the errors that you're making, your language use errors. But anyway, thank you for completing the pretest, and keep up the good work. You've been a great student so far.